All right. Apologies for my computer. It's going to be a little loud here, but I want to go over the Garden of Eden. I just watched an Alex O'Connor video where he has some objections to the original story of the Garden of Eden. And I would like to give my point of view on that. So, let's read the story. I'm gonna take, so this is in Genesis. This is Genesis 2. I'm gonna skip a little bit though. Let's see. La, la, la. The Lord God planted a garden to the east in Eden. He put the man there whom he had made. And the Lord God made to grow out of the ground every tree that is pleasing to the eyes and good for food. And he made the tree of life grow in the center of the garden, and the tree of learning of good and bad. Now, I'm going to skip past that actually. Then the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work the ground and care for it. The Lord God told the man, "You are free to eat from any tree of the garden, but do not eat from the tree of learning of good and bad," the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, basically. "For the day you eat from it, you will surely die." And then Eve is created. I'm going to skip to Genesis 3 now. Man does not obey God. Now the snake, or the serpent, was more able to fool others than any animal of the field which the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God say that you should not eat from any tree in the garden?" Then the woman said to the snake, "We may eat the fruit of the trees of the garden. But from the tree which is in the center of the garden, God has said, 'Do not eat from it, or touch it, or you will die.'" So, I want to make a point here. God told them not to eat of that tree. God told them not to touch it, not to be near it. The snake said to the woman, "No, you for sure will not die. For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and bad." The woman saw that the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eyes, and could fill the desire of making one wise. So she took of its fruit and ate. She also gave some to her husband, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew they were without clothes. So they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves clothing. And then God says, "Who told you that you are without clothes? Have you eaten from the tree of which I told you not to eat?" The man said, "The woman whom you gave to me, she gave me fruit of the tree and I ate." Then the Lord God said to the woman, "What is this you have done?" And the woman said, "The snake fooled me and I ate." So then God goes and makes the birthing process for women much more painful. And he says, "The ground is cursed because of you," to the man, to Adam. "By hard work you will eat from food of it all the days of your life. It will grow thorns and thistles for you. You will eat the plants of the field. You will eat bread by the sweat of your face because of hard work." And so basically, this is the start of the fall. So now man has knowledge of good and evil. And so the question is, why, if Adam and Eve didn't have knowledge of good and evil before that, what was the problem with eating of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? Because they had no knowledge. And then what was the other one? He said, why was the serpent even there to begin with? It seems like this all-knowing God is punishing them for something that they had no knowledge of. And it sounds, from that point of view, from that perspective, to be very foolish and very not loving of God, right? But I'm going to change that perspective just a little bit. I'm going to frame it a little differently. So God created us from the beginning with free will. Yes, Adam and Eve did not have the knowledge of good and evil yet. But God told them, don't eat from this tree because you're going to die. Don't eat from this tree because it's not good for you. And so he gave them a choice. And why was the serpent there? Why was the snake in the Garden of Eden? Because if you had only one choice, which was to listen to the voice of God, then you don't really have a choice. Does that make sense? If you're given only one option, what other option do you have than that one option? You don't. So God allowed the serpent or the tempter or Satan to be there. Because in that situation, now you have two options. You can listen to God, who gave you everything, who gave you life, who gave you a job to do, a purpose, gave you a wife, right? He gave you all the good things that are in your life. You can listen to that person who created you, or you can listen to the tempter, to the, how do I put this? What's the right word here? I don't want to say like the antithesis of God, right? The opposite, the anti-God, right? Does that make sense? Do you listen to God or do you listen to the opposite? Do you listen to the exact opposite of what he told you to do? So there is an option for obedience, let alone any options of knowing good and evil, because they don't have any knowledge of the good and evil yet. You are still given the opportunity to be obedient. And I think a lot of the comments on that video kind of just brushed that by as if it doesn't matter. God gave them an option, and he gave them the ability to choose. Do you follow the person who gave you life, or do you follow this random snake in a garden that you've never met before? And in knowing this, because God is all-knowing, he knew that they were going to eat from that tree, and he let it happen. Why? Why would God let that happen? Why would God allow disobedience? Why would he allow us to commit the first sin? Because he already had a plan for the future. God already had the entire story of Jesus in the Garden of Eden. Everything was already there. Everything was already planned out. Everything was already known. That one day he would redeem humanity from the sin that happened there. And in doing so, he created a better story for humanity. Right? If we're only living in the Garden of Eden and we never had any struggle, we never had anything to overcome, no sin or no struggling or no anything in the world, then yes, it would be a great time in the Garden of Eden. But in choosing God, despite the world creating all of these opportunities for sin, choosing God despite all of that, it grows us. It leads us down the path of sanctification, getting closer to God of our own free will. All this to say that what was done as sin, as the first sin, amounted to a greater good. And who are we to say that struggling, even if it leads to the greater good, even though it causes us pain and misery, who's to say that's not for our good? If you live a life without any pain, have you really lived a life? Let me rephrase that. If you've lived a life without any growth, without any need for growth, without any change that is necessary, did you really live a life? Because you haven't changed at all. You didn't grow. You didn't go from a lack of knowledge to wisdom. No. If you live a life that had no reason for change, then I would argue that you haven't lived a life at all. And in choosing God, and in choosing the wisdom of God, who knows everything, who knows so much more than we could ever imagine, choosing God in the midst of a world that is so wrought with sin and wickedness, choosing righteousness in that environment was the greater good. Following God, following the commandments of God, and loving God despite all of the flaws of living in this broken world. That is a gift, because we get to change and we get to grow and we get to bring others with us. Don't ever forget that. What we meant for bad, God has meant for good. And God will continue doing that, because that is the character of God. And we still have free will. Every one of us has free will. And we can choose to follow God with that free will, or we could choose to die with our sin. It's up to you. It's your decision at the end of the day. God bless.